So moving on, the GOP proposed a new bill. You know how they added a bunch of IRS agents in the latest bill, but the GOP proposed a bill protecting the middle class from increased audits because there was that fear that the middle class would experience a lot of, and when they say middle class, they mean anyone making under 400K a year. So this is a huge number of people. We're gonna link a video to
That's
it.
that's pretty much almost. I mean,
That's pretty
you
much
can basically
everybody.
say that's everyone. Yeah, that's basically everyone.
Yeah, well. When people criticize the increase in spending for the IRS, the Democrats said, "Well, it's only to target the rich," and then the Republicans are just proposing a bill that puts that in writing. I guess we're gonna link a video where it does state that maybe this is overblown because how much of an increase in IRS spending this is? It's over 10 years. It's really not that much. But at the same time, if it's not that much, then why even do it? So I have to imagine that if you proposed it, you must think it will move the needle at least somewhat. And if you're moving the needle at least somewhat, then maybe it's worth creating this bill to protect the middle class from increased audits. But that's not the interesting argument to me. The interesting thing that I want to touch on here is that this is a very recent shift where it's Republicans who are sort of the populist party now, and they're trying to protect lower and middle class from
Wait. Did you
encroachments.
did you mention that the Democrats are basically against this? I don't think you
Yeah,
mentioned
the
that.
Democrats are against this bill. They
Yeah,
said no,
yeah.
and that means this bill's not going to pass. So the
So
GOP
I
just
mean, it seems like they're just so. Therefore, that means they were lying about that these audits wouldn't affect you if you're making under 400K, right?
yeah, that could be true. To be charitable, there might be other reasons why they're against this bill. It might have riders in it. Some part of the language of this new GOP bill might be unwanted. So I'll be charitable. It doesn't necessarily mean Democrats want middle class people to be audited more,
Mhm.
but it is noteworthy in that it represents this really marked shift that's happened really since the Trump administration, where the GOP is now the populist party. And for the longest time, that was not the case. Like, if this was 1995 or even 2005, the GOP wouldn't be proposing bills to try to protect the lower and middle classes from audits or whatever. That just wouldn't be really their wheelhouse. But now they're on top of it. They're just, the populist party. They're putting this bill forth, which they know is not going to get through because the Democrats control Congress right now. So this is kind of all for show, but it's still noteworthy as far as what people will do for show because it sort of indicates where their mind is at. And the GOP's mind, it's in a very populist state right now. They want to put themselves out there as protecting middle class and lower class people from extra audits from this increase in IRS budgeting. And that's just so odd to me because for the longest time that was not where they were at. But now they are squarely, it seems, on the side of populism.
How
And
could this?
and the
How
Democrats sort
could?
of just let it slip. Like it seems like they dropped the ball here because they just sort of let this they lost this PR battle. It's just a PR battle. Nothing actionable is going to happen. But they lost the PR battle on this one issue by letting the Republicans say, "Oh, we want to protect middle class people from the extra audits," and the Democrats just sort of said, "No, not really."
I mean,
It's not.
it's not just it's pretty much everyone, right? So I don't understand how this could be good strategy for Democrats, just because if
Yeah,
you
I don't know that either. They just failed on the strategy. Maybe they ceded this populist ground to Republicans, which is so strange to me because just 10 years ago, this was not the case. It seems like Republicans are the ones fighting for middle class people now. And just
I mean
that's
they're
weird.
probably
As a old person old enough to remember, that wasn't the case before.
they're probably trying to keep this on the down low, right? It's
Yeah,
like
because in honesty, they do want you and me, middle class people, to be audited. Anyone making 400K or less a year, they want them to be. That's where the tax revenue comes from, guys. They always here's the other dirty secret.
It
They
really
always
is
say all the
everyone.
tax revenues. Don't worry, don't worry. Everyone always says, don't worry, all the tax revenues just can come from the rich people. They always say that, but the numbers don't lie. That's not where tax revenue comes from. Comes from people making under 400K, which is the vast majority of people. So if they want more money, where are they going to get it from? They're going to get it from the bulk of the tax paying base. That's you and me. It's not just Jeff Bezos. I hate to break it to you. They don't want to tell you that. So if they want more money, they're looking at you and me. So that's why they're not for this bill, and that's why they don't want to really talk about this very much. And the Republicans are okay because they don't care about paying for these programs that the Democrats want. So they're okay just sort of torpedoing them, introducing these bills that will totally undercut the amount of tax revenue they get. Republicans are fine with that because they don't care. They're okay with a reduced spending. But the
So,
Democrats want to pay for all these programs, so they need the tax revenue to come from somewhere.
so if you're talking to, I don't know, one of your leftist friends and you show them this, what's their reaction going to be?
I'm not sure what the reaction. They'll probably just say the Republicans are posturing or lying, I guess.
But how are they going to try to make it? How are they going to try to defend auditing of people making under
Oh, they'll
400K?
probably just say that, well, if you're cheating on your taxes, you deserve to be audited. They'll just say something like that,
I
you
see.
know?
Right.
Just like,
So, but
they're
but if
just
you're
like,
coming in illegally, that's okay though.
right. Just like if people who are for the state or against the state, it's just very convenient. They flip based on what their beliefs are.
Hmm.
Right now, they're going to be for the state because their team says to be for the state, to be for audits.
Yeah.
They're going to be for it. But I think it's so interesting that the sides have flipped, and it's just a recent thing. I know it's so hard to think of it as a recent thing because 6 years seems like such a long time ago in today's terms. But before Trump, there was no way the Republicans would take such a populist stand. There was no way. They're the party of lower taxes, sure, but they're also the party of free market. They're not a populist party. And now they seem squarely in that zone, and they have outmaneuvered Democrats. And I don't know how they allowed it because now it seems like they're the party of auditing regular Americans, and
Yeah.
that's
The thing
probably
is,
not going to be popular.
I feel like it doesn't matter because they have control over media. So most people aren't going to know about this.
Most aren't, but elections are very close. So if it moves the needle at all with some people, it could be important.
I mean, you've got a way better feel for what mainstream media is saying, right? Have you been, have they been?
Mainstream media is not covering it this way, sure, but
Yeah.
at some point, it's going to trickle down to people, and to some degree, that hey, look, the GOP is trying to protect you from audits, and Democrats don't seem to care. At some point, that's going to trickle down, and it seems just like a failure on their part. Well, how have they been outmaneuvered on this? It just seems so odd to me, but it's happened, and I just thought it was noteworthy to talk about that the GOP has just seemingly outmaneuvered them. This is not even a big issue because, again, perhaps it's true that the number of IRS agents is not even hugely impactful, but as far as optics go, it seems like the Democrats have ceded this to the GOP. I don't know why. God, they don't care. They're that detached. They're that removed. I don't
Wait,
know.
wait. So I think was it in this video where they were kind of breaking down the numbers, how many tax returns every year are filed and how many additional agents this is and
Right.
how
It's only
that
so many agents per 200,000 files,
right. But then okay, but then that's one way to look at it. But what about just how much, relative to how many agents there are now, how much of an increase is it in agents?
Right.
I bet it's a
That's
big
probably more
percentage.
significant in those terms. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't, yeah, there's multiple ways to look at this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant because, like, if it's irrelevant, why would the Democrats even propose it?
Yeah. I mean,
They must think it.
they're
They
doing
must
it
think
because
it moves the needle somehow, right?
exactly. Yeah. They're thinking this is a net profit somehow.
Right. That it can pay for all the shit they want to spend on. That's what they're
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Whereas the GOP doesn't care about all the shit they want to spend on, and they want to score brownie points being the populist party, and they've outmaneuvered the Democrats in this one instance and sent this bill out there and saying, hey, look, we're trying to protect you from pointless audits. And it just seems like the Democrats were really outplayed on this one point. And it seems weird to me because 15 years ago, there's no way it would happen like this.
Yeah, I just think,
there's no way.
maybe this is cynical, but I just think they're only outplayed if people find out about it. So,
Yes, true. But it shouldn't even come to this. If this was Bill Clinton's party, just put it this way. If this was still Bill Clinton's party, they wouldn't have been outmaneuvered on this point. They wouldn't look like the bad guys when it comes to, hey, here's a bunch more audits for middle class people. Oh, that's us. That's what we want. Is that popular? Is this what you want your name attached to? There's no way he would have allowed that. And somehow they were outmaneuvered.
So maybe this is just another example of kind of what we were saying earlier about how power corrupts, and just basically, since mainstream media is allowing them to get away with so many things, that this is just
they just feel like, oh, we don't need to even try because people will cover up our mistakes.
Don't you get that feeling already? Pretty much. I mean, it doesn't really seem like they're trying.
Yeah, in some cases, especially this one, I get the feeling that Democrats don't even feel they need to try. Yeah. Like they don't even want to try to at least look like you're on the side of the common person, right?
It's like California.
Right. They don't even want to look like they're on the side of the common person. And they let the GOP come in with a bill to make it look like they're on the side of the common person. It's not necessarily even true. Like we just said, maybe none of this even matters that much, but you're letting the optics work against you because the other side has successfully co-opted the optics to make it look like they're on the side of the little guy. You never want to not be on the side of the little guy. Come on. This is not a good look, right? Like, we want to audit you. Really? Me? I make like $60,000 a year. You want to audit me? Yes. That's not a really popular thing to be saying to people. And yet they're sort of letting themselves be pigeonholed into this position. And I just find that so odd because in like 1998, this would never have happened to them. In 2008, this would never have happened to them. But apparently in 2022, they're just okay with it.
Yep.
They're letting Republicans, which they had so successfully painted as the fat cat party for, decades, they're letting them now act like they're on the side of the middle class person, of the little guy. And I don't know how they let that happen. And I'm not even a Democrat, but if I were, I would say, what are you guys doing? This seems like you're dropping the ball. It would be so easy for you to introduce your own bill or just like say how you're trying to protect, middle class people from being audited. But they're not. They just come out and just say, no, this Republican bill's bad. Well, I mean, this is going to win some people in an election. Like you can think like in a tight House race or something, some Republicans are going to bring out that the Democrats didn't even care about these audits. But I care. I voted, or I would have voted this way or something like that. It's going to win a race here and there.